Question 1. In what ways does your media product use, develop, or challenge forms and conventions of real media products? To better understand the genre I would be adhering to, I first studied the conventions of the thriller genre and of opening sequences in general by analysing free thriller posters, free thriller opening sequences, free thriller scenes, and the timings of the titles of one thriller opening sequence. Conventions are typical features of films that give the audience a level of expectation, so to be able to make our thriller opening sequence thrilling and provide the audience with something to expect, we conform to some of the thriller conventions noted during our research, such as darkness. To make our opening sequence different from other thrillers studied, we developed some of these conventions. To make our thriller innovative, engaging, and more thrilling, we challenged some of these conventions. Location. The location for the initial section of our opening sequence challenges some thriller conventions noted in my research. We used an open location for this section of the sequence, representing the victim's freedom and ability to escape the murderer. This challenges conventions due to the victims usually being depicted in an environment that they are unlikely to escape from, such as the chainsaw scene in American Psycho, where the victim runs down an enclosed flight of stairs, or Chronicle, where Andrew is framed and therefore enclosed within the shot in the mirror. By using this unconventional location, the audience will not expect the victim to be captured, as they would have expected it to occur in an enclosed environment according to the conventions of a thriller. Our second location was a garage, which provided us with a dark and enclosed space from which we could represent the victim's isolation and entrapment, making it clear to the audience that they cannot escape. This is conventional to the thriller genre, as victims are usually confined to show their vulnerability in the presence of the person making them a victim. This is evident in A Dark Knight during the Joker's interrogation scene, in which the Joker is isolated in a confined dark room, the opening sequence to Chronicle, where Andrew is trapped within the frame of the mirror, and even the Inception movie poster where DiCaprio's character is framed between two buildings, trapping him within the shot too. Following this location convention allows us to indicate to the audience that the escape of the victim is hopeless, therefore building suspense towards their eventual demise, which consequently makes their death somewhat more thrilling. Shot types. Our shot usage was very conventional to not only thrillers, but also movies in general. We used close-up shots to emphasize the emotional state of our victim, showing them becoming more threatened and scared as the narrative progressed. This is conventional of the shot type in films generally, which I noted during my research on the Hannibal and Shutter Island movie posters, where the characters' emotions are being portrayed clearly to the audience through the use of a close-up shot, indicating that this is a good method of representing emotion in our character. We also used close-up shots to highlight some key features of our opening sequence, such as the murderer's legs walking, the murderer cleaning the knife, and the picture of the victim burning in the candle, all important shots that needed to be highlighted within the sequence. Such shot usage is also conventional to thrillers, most notable in my research in the opening sequence of 7, in which key items about the plot are shown throughout the sequence, similar to how we give details about the murderer. As well as this, our use of two shots is conventional to the genre. Two shots are used to show the relationship between two characters in scene, which I noted during my analysis of the Dark Knight interrogation scene, where tension between Batman and the Joker is evident, and the breakup scene in American Psycho, where the audience can appreciate Patrick Bateman's nonchalant attitude to the situation in contrast with his emotional partner. During our opening sequence, we used this conventional shot type to show the effect the murderer's presence has on the victim, and vice versa, allowing the audience to better understand the threat the murderer poses to the victim. Characters. In our opening sequence, we cast a female in the role of a victim and a male in the role of a murderer. Whilst this is conventional to the genre, most notably evident in Psycho, we decided to develop this convention by altering the characteristics of the conventional female victim. In Psycho, for example, the victim cannot even attempt to defend herself and is represented as far less powerful than the murderer. We tried to represent our victim as being a capable female who has the potential to escape. This was done primarily through the opening establishing shot, in which the victim can be seen running along the dirt track. This represents her athletic nature from the start, therefore indicating a capability to run away. We also made her appear similarly as tall as the murderer through a range of mid-shots, lessening the gap of power between the victim and the murderer, and therefore giving the victim a chance to escape. However, casting a female victim does indicate to the audience that she is still vulnerable, due to the aforementioned point that many thrillers cast females in the role of victims. It allows the audience to enter the thriller with a level of expectation, and understand that the female victim is still likely to be killed. This contrast of vulnerable and secure consequently makes the safety of the victim questionable, which in turn makes their demise more thrilling as it is unexpected. A similar situation is achieved with the murderer. The amount of male villains in thriller films causes the audience to naturally associate the male character with this role, therefore leading them to impose the stereotypical villain representations on such a character, a key factor in making our murderer more thrilling. Props. A major convention we adhered to was our choice of murder weapon. Throughout not only thrillers I researched, but also other thrillers, I found it extremely conventional for the murderer to wield a knife. Hannibal Lecter, the Joker, Patrick Bateman, Sweeney Todd, and the Zodiac Killer, as well as many more, all use knives. By using the same murder weapon, we assimilate our murderer to the conventional thriller murderers, ensuring that the audience understand the realistic threat that the murderer poses to the victim due to the actions of other thriller murderers. An open flame also appeared to be conventional to the thriller genre. In both The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo and the Other's opening sequences, as well as the movie poster for Shutter Island, an open flame is present. Much like these thrillers, I thought the use of an open flame would more clearly represent the danger within the narrative due to the damage that an open flame can do, hence indicating why we littered the second location with candles. Use of titles. To better understand the conventions of title placement and the timings within the opening sequence, I analysed the titles of the opening sequence to the thriller Signs. This provided my group and myself with a good idea of where to place our titles. For instance, the title of the movie was displayed early on in the sequence, much like our own title. This was preceded by the major actor names and followed by lesser actor names. After this, Signs listed the major people who worked on the film, such as music producer and costume designer. We followed suit and placed these titles in the same position as Signs. Furthermore, we placed our distribution company logo at the start of the sequence, a predominant convention of films, considering the distributors such as Lionsgate or Warner Brothers are usually placed at the beginning. The style of a title is also conventional for thrillers. During my research, I noted that several thrillers use the red stylized font. Sweeney Todd, Inception, Hannibal, and Shutter Island all use fonts that suit the themes of the narrative. Sweeney Todd uses a serif font to suit the time period, for instance. These title conventions are ultimately what led to us using a red serif font due to the themes we were aiming to achieve throughout the narrative.